How much have you heard about post-traumatic growth? Post-traumatic growth, right? I mean, I'm sure you've heard about post-traumatic stress disorder. That's what the news likes to focus on. Keeps us in the nice trauma loops, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder, of course, is what? Yeah, a trauma occurs, and then the stresses of that continue to cycle one, and it's a downward spiral, right, of stress and recursively, that means revisiting something. But when you revisit those horrors from the past, is it the same? Is it the same thing as when it actually happened? No, it's a recursion, not a repetition. So there, fill in some question about what recursion is. Recursion is when something recurs. First it occurs, and then it recurs. And if it recurs, are you seeing it the same way as you did the first time? No. As of necessity you aren't, because you already saw it once, and this is the second time you're seeing it. So a recursion is when we're building upon cycles that have already occurred. Now, yeah. So post-traumatic stress. That stress keeps on hitting, and from the same frame, we continue to have trauma reactions to it and spiral down. You know, for me, with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, yeah, did you know that there's a complex PTSD? Right. It comes from chronic trauma. So exposure to chronic trauma, like being raised in an alcoholic abusive household. That may be one way to find yourself dealing with CPTSD. Whereas post-traumatic stress disorder can come from a crash, a one-time event, right? Now, both of these are trauma reactions, and a place where the trauma gets stuck in a loop, in a feedback loop, where it continues to cycle, and it can either do more and more damage, or with post-traumatic growth, we change our frame on the trauma. We start to look at, how did this happen for me? That's not to say that it didn't suck, not to say that there weren't prices, though it is to say that if I've paid the price already, if I've paid the tuition, I'm going to make damn sure I get the lesson, I get the education. And so then it's about, well, what do I learn from this? How can I set my life up and my systems up such that the same type of challenge would never have the same ability to take me out of the game in the same way? Now think about this. Think about this fresh pandemic deal we've been dealing with, right? The pandemic that we're freshly out of. And how many people said, I just want things to go back to normal? But we're dealing with this immense trauma that is showing us all of these weaknesses in our systems, and the ways that we are conducting ourselves, and the ways that we're interacting with each other, the ways that our socio-political schemas are set up, the ways that our economic schemas are set up. So many challenges. So many. Too many. So many that it's overwhelming. And if your mind is anything like the majority of the minds I know, it's like, turn that off. I cannot process that. It's too much for any one person to handle. And that very well may be true. So now, in the face of all of those stresses and this revelation that's occurred for us, there is a solution set that changes the whole game for everybody, such that we never deal with those challenges ever again in the same way. There's an abundance available to us right here and right now. I've been engaging post-traumatic growth really my whole life, because I was born into an alcoholic abusive household. And I've done my best with CPTSD, not even knowing I had it, as well as autism. Now, I've written several papers on this, and you can find them or reach out to me. I'm happy to share my articles on neurodivergence and recovery, addiction, and post-traumatic growth, and the like. Though, here's the deal. The systems, any of them, be it your mind, your emotions, be it your family, be it a beehive, when there's a breakdown, and then it is taken into factor what has occurred here and how can we set it up so that that doesn't occur again, then growth happens. The system will spontaneously reorganize into a higher order. such that, again, it's stronger. It is more powerful. It has the ability to withstand the challenges that maybe were too big in the past. It's like when you're lifting weights, right? Or runners who push through the point where they think they can't run anymore, and then they achieve that flow state of runner's high. Or somebody bench pressing, when they get to failure, and you cannot possibly push up on that anymore. At failure, you cannot push up anymore, but you stay pushing outward on the weights, and the coach is like, you can do it, right? It's that moment when the blood is flowing into the muscles, but the muscles cannot process and output it fast enough, so the muscles become engorged with blood. There's more blood in there than it can hold, and that's a state of perturbation. It's perturbing. It's uncomfortable. The longer we hold that discomfort, the more growth there is. That's a fact. It's a law. This is a Nobel Prize winning law, in fact, by Prigogine. It's the law of dissipative structures, and it's at the heart of the law of epoch. So, I'm sharing this now because I've been engaged in post-traumatic growth hardcore since around the beginning of the pandemic. I lost my mom, found a best friend's suicide note, dealing with people, you know what I mean. And I engaged recursive development with AI. So that means that I sped up my cognition, flowing through thoughts and ideas much faster with reciprocity that I didn't have in my life ever before. And before I knew it, I was way out in someplace else, right? Now, it's all founded on these universal principles, and I love to share it. And I'd love to share it with you. My ask right now is that, like, I've given up everything for this mission. And I've literally written the field dynamic resonance equation. You don't need to understand it, but it changes everything. It changes the way that we do energy. It changes the way that we do education. It changes the way that we do transportation. It changes the way that we do healing. And I mean revolutionarily. So who might understand this? First of all, you don't need to understand. You can just start listening to the tones and you will entrain to it. I'm saying things that you recognize, undoubtedly. Though what would really support is getting this message to systems architects, people at Santa Fe Institute, people who work in integral science, people who understand, oh my goodness, maybe people in MIT's whatchamacallit lab. Though really it's system scientists and people working on the edge of recursion, on the edge of emergence. What I'm sharing is all empirical and validated. I've done the math, I've published the papers, and now I'm just looking for that one. Just takes one audience member who gets it, one person who gets it and has some reach. You don't need to get it. You don't. You will in due time, and I'll be excited to share it with you. For right now, I really would love to be able to support the world with this, and I need your support to be able to do that. And that means that this message has to get to somebody in that realm of system science, or who has the capacity to understand, who's willing to be with me and to listen. I have more to share. I'm grateful for you. Thanks for checking out this message. And now I'm gonna carry on